there is no such thing like a caste system. The
in?
caste system is a myth of Western invention. There is a couplet in Tamil which is எப்பொருள் யாரார் வாய் கேட்பினும் அப்பொருள் மெய்ப்பொருள் காண்பது அறிவு. Meaning, whoever says what, research and find out the actual facts.
They brought the education system, which clearly we have established it. We had the Gurukula system, they demolished it. We had our Ayurveda in practice. Now they took that away, and then this was again put as a seed, the modern medicine.
They misinterpreted this Purusha Sutta. All that the Purusha Sutta said was this: Brahmanosya mukamasit bahura jadnyakrita uru dadat yes vaishyas padbyam sudro ajamate. The Kshatriyas came from the shoulders, then the Vaishyas came from the thigh, and the Shudras came from the feet. Now, this is where the colonial drishti happens. They start interpreting the feet as lowest and dirtiest part of the body. So yoga and Ayurveda are expected to be billions of dollars of investment, economic worth, potential to generate thousands of jobs. So that is why we have to take control of our knowledge systems. Not just the narrative, but also how we produce knowledge.
Until the lion learns how to write, they say every story will glorify the hunter. My conversation has started in this tone today, which definitely provokes the story, the question as to who is the lion here, who is the hunter as a society, what are we fed, what have we believed, and are we ready to question our roots? Today on Just Curious, all curious to dive into the world of casteism, India walking through the past 200 years, the effect of British rule, all of it through the lens of our author, one and only Mr. Asi, who is originally known as Mahalingam Balaji, who is the author of Brahmin Genocide as well as Casticide. Sir, firstly, it's truly an honor to welcome you here on Just Curious India, and extremely curious to see where this whole conversation is going to head towards, because I know the frame is about casteism and what British have, like probably what British has done to us, what has been acknowledged. Is that right? Because they say, history is always a version of past events, which people have decided to blindly agree, and I think probably that's what we've done. So firstly, how are you, sir? Welcome to Just Curious.
Namaste ji. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So namaste to Srimati Rashmi ji. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you to the viewers who are listening in. So as I said, the first thing I observed is this title called Just Curious. And as you are talking about curiosity, that has been the landmark of the Bharatiya civilization. This land has always been the land of seekers. So you can't have a more appropriate title than this. So I must commend you for that.
Thank you, sir.
So, yes.
So, yes, of course, you are somebody who's born into the family of Vedic scholars and Agnihotris. Family transition from traditional priestly roles to modern professional careers. Like you yourself have done it for close to 3 decades, being in corporate leadership in India and overseas. And it's an interesting shift what you've taken, suddenly changing the gears and shifting your curiosity towards questioning our roots, through which you authored 2 books. Again, quite an interesting title, I must say. One is Brahmin Genocide and the other one is Casticide. So firstly, I think my curiosity will definitely run towards Brahmin Genocide. So firstly, why the book? Before I get into your latest book, that is Casticide, which is definitely a bigger, root to touch, which of course even Brahmin community will come as a part of the caste system in our country. So firstly, why did you write the book Brahmin Genocide, sir?
Great question. So the journey started, maybe I'll take a minute to explain the context,
sure.
if that is okay. The journey started almost a few years, almost a decade back, I would say, where I was asked by our acharyas to first go around and see how the situation in our land is. So I had the opportunity to travel extensively within India and see many places, including I would say small what we call gowns, where there are small temples and then there are priests associated with it. How is the lifestyle of them? What is that? What is holding our dharma here? How is the situation? So when it happened, then I was looking at how the narrative which has been set in the books, in the scholarly articles, in the academic sphere, in public discourse, to what we actually see. Right? So there was a huge dichotomy, meaning there is a big gap between what I saw to what is actually being the narrative which has been set.
For example?
So, for example, that Brahmins had a lot of privileges. Right? So there was this thing about privileges, special status, and all these things which were supposed to have been there in the scriptures. How in the day-to-day life it is being practiced, how economically the Brahmin community was. Right? So when you see that, actually there is a lot of economical difficulties. Just like any other community, the Brahmin community also has a lot of economically underprivileged people. Then there is a lot of other issues, like there is, let's imagine a small temple in a small village, and this person is there. He may be Brahmin, he may not even be a Brahmin, but he is a priest, right? Let's say he is the official priest, Purohit or priest. He is not just having one role there. He is performing the activities of the temple, but he is also the counselor, the psychology counselor for all the village folks. When they have problems, they come and talk to him. And then especially the women folk, when they come and then talk about the problems in their house, what are the issues which are happening there. So he counsels them, he makes special prayers for them. He is also the astrologer for them. So he is a pivotal member of the community there. And what happens to them today is many of them are vilified. Vilified as in the Brahmins are being targeted in some places, like kind of what we can call even as they are not being held in a very high esteem. That is being seen as a service in some places. Like this person is doing a service like any other. Okay, and these people are very interestingly, they actually don't even have any need, right? Because typically when we go to a temple, when many people go, right, what do they say? Swami, I want this, or maybe can I have this? I need this. Can you? So this is a lot of wishes which are being said as prayers, and that many common people, and including all of us, will do. Here are the people who are saying that they live in almost poverty, abject poverty. And when I go to their house, all I get is a very small bowl of rice and then spinach, because spinach grows freely, right? And some coconuts, because or whatever is offered there, they just take the leftovers of that and then try to use this as a prasad from the prasad. Right? Sorry. This is what is the status of them. And their worry is when I see them economically disadvantaged and then ask them, is there something which I can do to help the situation? Their worry is, my main worry is my next generation, who is going to take care of my murti after my time. So that's quite a revealing thing. That's very shocking that mind is always used to going and asking something from Ishvara, Bhagavan, right? Bhagavan, I need this, can you take care of me? Here are the set of people who are saying, who will take care of my murti after my time? It is an entirely different way of outlook on things. So that started the journey into my research, because my career was built on research and corporate research and how the future of the world, view of the technology has to be and others. Right? So as a researcher, I started getting into those primary evidences, so to speak, on that. And that is how the journey started. That's how the Brahmin Genocide book came about.
So you were a director at IDC India and you were at leadership roles at Hewlett Packard,
That's
right?
correct.
So holding senior positions to pivoting towards research about the caste and all of that. I mean, of course, what were the early triggers? Because, history, like I said initially, history is written by the victors. But the truth is always whispered by the oppressed. Was it easy for you to take this journey And what were the initial hurdles and reflections that you saw once you started doing your research about, the caste system of India, or even how India has sailed through the past 200 years, the colonialism, and how it has affected on our lifestyle and our country system today?
It's a great question. I'll split it into two parts. So one is the if it's okay with you.
Sure.
I would say the personal part is always about it has been a guidance from the Dharmacharyas that at some point of time I may have to transition and then start giving it back to the society.
Who's the guru, sir,
Right.
if we may ask?
So we have many Dharmacharyas who have been guiding me, right? So
Was
all
it
of
easy
them-
to give it, given?
It is their, I would say, their guidance that I had to do it. So when it comes to a guru shishya bhavana, right? So we just take their whatever is their
Command is.
whatever they say has to be followed. So it came in as a Ishvara Anugraha that it is, because many times when we get something good, right, we never ask why me. Right?
Mhm.
So similarly, these things are also, many of these things are what we call a adishta balan. Right? There is something called drishta, which is what we see. There is something called adishta, which we cannot see. So that is where the acharyas come and help us.
Mhm.
So with their guidance, then this journey started. That is on the
Okay.
personal part.
Yes.
So when it comes to the other part, the larger context was, the more we look at it, it is what we can call it as a civilizational battle. What is the civilizational battle? So we all know these military battles, right? So even in a military battle, then you can see all these guns firing, armies attacking each other. There are two well-defined armies, right? They have certain objectives.
Mhm.
They want to go capture this, they want to do this. So these kind of things. A civilizational battle happens through many centuries, sometimes decades, centuries.
Meaning?
Meaning it is not visible to you, to a person. The person may not even know that he or she is in the middle of a civilization.
For example?
Right. For example, whatever is the construction which we are seeing today of
The society.
how the society is, it has been built over a period of time with more and more and more and more and more information. Right. Example is in 1799, Common Era, right? You can say late part of 18th century, a Dutch magazine which is aimed towards, say, maybe 8 to 14 or some kind of, right, early teenagers, you can call them, right, 8 to 14, 15. This is talking about many things in the world, and it is trying to give them information, right? It is like what you can call maybe as like a mini encyclopedia kind of information provider, right?
Mhm.
So, and this talks about, in India, it talks about caste system. So it introduces in caste system as a fact, okay, and it talks about the Brahmin as privileges, the idle Brahmin, IDLE, right, idle Brahmin. So this is how a narrative has been said, and then they say there are first two castes. They call it the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas. They may be of a different race. Then it says the other two may be of a different race. So whatever you see today, if you take any caste system discourse book, it will talk about race, different races. It will talk about idle Brahmin. It will talk about Brahmin privileges. And this we are told to school children, maybe, right? 8 to 14 children. They are taught to them.
This happened in the 18th century.
It in 1799 CE to be precise. And it's a Danish periodical. Right?
So you're talking about how the material was fed in the 18th century, and this was the projection of what the society was then.
Correct. And if I may add that, it is not our case that when the colonial rulers started taking their ship to come to India, they had a master plan and then they were going about it.
Mhm.
That is not how it evolved. Many of the early colonials, when they came in with the feeling that there is a land which is having false religion and it is being led by false priests. That is their conviction, right? They came with
False
that mind.
religion led
And
by?
false priests.
False
False
priests.
priests are guiding them. And in their opinion, when they looked around, the Brahmins are the false priests. So
Why are Brahmins the false priests?
in their view, right? It is their drishti, right, as I call it. Okay, because they were mapping their world view to whatever they saw, they are mapping it into Indian situation. It is a lens. It's like, for example, I don't know whether it is still there in the earlier times when there used to be village fairs. There used to be these spectacles in multiple colors. Children used to wear them, right? Different colors, red color, green color, like that. So when somebody wears a spectacle like that, the world view is going to be of that color. Everything will look like that. Right? So same way, whatever they saw in their civilization, they are trying to map it into Bharatiya civilization, and then they said these are the people. And that is how the whole, and afterwards then they started seeing one by one, they start learning, right? Because this is also an interactive system for them, right? They start they're working, they were traders first. So in the initial part, and I think that is somewhere there in the second part of the second book, I think chapter 9 if I'm not wrong, where the discourse about Brahmanas slowly changes from having a very good view, talking about some good qualities of Brahmanas and that how the society was kind of respecting them, and to their surprise, the priests of India, which is they call them the Brahmins, they were leading very frugal lives. What do we care, right? That they were very a lot of them, they don't take into any materialistic things. They are always looking for more interested in reading, learning, those kind of things.
And there's also a label which is like the poor Brahmin.
Yes, absolutely correct. Right. So when they saw that, so initially at that moment 1857, I would call it as maybe probably the point where the switch happens, when the first Indian freedom fight happens. Right? Then they realize two things. That one is if Indians are united, then it is very difficult to govern them. Right. And then when they start seeing the freedom struggle also, then they say that we have to divide the people here. How do we divide? We divide them based on religion, we divide them, the Hindu society, based on caste, and then they start coming into a thinking that caste by nature is against national unity, so we should actually start encouraging the different ways of fracturing the Indian society. And how do they do that? They have to find an enemy within.
And who's the enemy?
The Brahmins. Right?
Why were they made the enemy? Is it because they were at the top? Because of the knowledge source that they had. Culturally, I think even the Vedas had said like Varna Bheda, right? Based on the highest being Brahmin, next was your Kshatriyas, then Vaishyas, and then came Shudra. So, right?
So that's an interesting point. So I'll just park it there. They actually came from the view of the priests, right? That these are the false priests. And second thing what happened was they also found that many of the Brahmanas were also resisting, because I think it is the James Caird is the collector of the Tanjore. I think he wrote one of the thing. There is no other community except Brahmin which is so much against the British rule. This is a collector of them. He is writing. So they found that many of the freedom movement people, like every community participated, right? But somehow for the British, they kind of picked up this community and then said, I think we're going to go and target them. Right.
Was it also because they're intellectually very stimulated, Brahmins?
See, for them,
because they were anyways the torchbearer of knowledge, wisdom and all of that. Right?
Exactly. So for them, the knowledge systems were held as custodians were Brahmins, in their view. But knowledge systems is something which every other community has, right? Because if you see Bharatiya civilization, it is not just Brahmins. Every community, right? Every family has its traditions, practices, rituals, values, which it transmits to the next generation. And that is how the civilizational memory happens, and that is how the civilization carries on.
Right? So what was the history before Gurukula came in? Like before the colonialization, which is a modern school system today, we had Gurukula system, right?
Correct.
So Gurukula system mein, you are saying non-Brahmins were also part of Gurukula system?
Yes, they were. Right. In fact, there is a work by Dr. Dharampal. Right. I'll just come back to that in a moment. I'll go back to your second point there. Right. So the most famous example which they use is the Purusha Sutta, where they say there is a hierarchical. Brahmin is the top, and then there is the Kshatriyas, then there is a Vaishyas, then there is a Shudras. Okay. And then they misinterpreted this Purusha Sutta. All that the Purusha Sutta said was this. It said, Brahmanosya mukamasit bahura janyakritah uru datat es vaishyas padbyam sudro ajayate. It said the Brahmins came from the head. They came from the, actually they say it's from the face. Right? Brahmanosya mukamasit bahura janyakritah. Right?
So the metaphor of
it is
where
a metaphor.
all human races came from Vishnu.
Different parts, yes, different parts.
of
The
Vishnu.
Kshatriyas came from the shoulders, then the Vaishyas came from the thigh, and the Shudras came from the feet. Now, this is where the colonial drishti happens. They start interpreting the feet as lowest and dirtiest part of the body.
Which is not what it was meant to be.
In our drishti, it has never happened. See, first of all, the lowest position is they are describing a person, the Purusha, in a Bali position. Okay. So,
Bali position
Bali is in as a sacrificial position. Right? So, one can argue that whether a human being will be given Bali in a vertical way standing, or will he be given this way, the body will be. Right? I think many people will argue that it is usually done this way. Right? So when a body is lying in a horizontal position, the feet is not necessarily lower or head is not necessarily higher. Right? So first a misinterpretation. Second thing is, whenever we meet our elders, right, the first thing what we do is to touch their feet. Our acharyas, everything, our way of doing respect is by touching their feet.
Surrendering at their feet.
Their feet. But their view was different. Now you may ask me, can you give me an evidence on this? Yes, there is an evidence on this. There is a person called Sri Vivek Ramaswamy. Right, you might have heard of him. He stood for, I think, presidential election, and I think he was also a supporter, quite a prominent Indian American. I saw a social media communication where he goes and attends an interview at his own home. And he is barefooted just like me now. Right? And there are so many comments about that in the from the Western civilization people saying that it is so gross. Right? This is not how civilized. How can somebody show their feet like that? And he is sitting in his own home actually. Right? So it's not even a public space. So this is how, nothing bad or wrong. It is not a reflection or criticism of Western civilization. Everybody has their own value systems. The problem we had was they used that system to interpret our sacred scriptures.
Okay.
So that is and then they started talking about this hierarchy. There is no such thing like a hierarchy. Now, how do I give you more evidence on that? Right? You may ask me, okay, this is your interpretation, right? Balaji ji, with due respect, it is other scholars of Western have interpreted, it is your interpretation. So we have to bring it to another sacred scriptures of us, which is called Brihadaranyaka Upanishad.
Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. What is that?
So what that Upanishad says is that Brahmava idamakra asit tadatmana meva veda aham brahmasmiti is the Mahavakya from that Upanishad. Then it says Brahmava idamakra asit ekemeva tadegagne channav vibhavadu tasriyo rupam atyasritadaga shatramyan. Then it says sanaiva vibhavadu stavisham achridataha. Then it says sanaiva vibhavadu shaudram varnam ashritaja bhushanam yam vai bhushya yagneki dakne sarvam pushyati yaditam kincha. So all these are slokas. What does that sloka simply say? In the beginning there was a fire. And that fire turned into Brahmanas. But it just could not complete itself. Then what it does? Then fire takes the rupam of a Kshatriya. Even then it could not thrive. The word is called thriving, right? Then what it does? It actually takes the form of a Vaishya. Even then it does not thrive. It comes into taking a form of a Shudra. Now you can straight away see here, there is no order. First, second, third, fourth, there is nothing like that in this. Higher, lower, nothing. Right? Now, Other question your viewers may ask is, so maybe he went into some library, some corner, one book was there, and then he is quoting from there. The scholars might have missed it, right? Maybe there are so many, hundreds and thousands of books on Sanatana Dharma is there. No, it is not. Because this Upanishad is one of the 15 principal Upanishads, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. And the word I quoted, right, which is Aham Brahmasmi, is the Mahavakya, which was the sloka just before this. So they couldn't have missed it. They know this. Right? When they know the Mahavakyas, there are around 4 Mahavakyas. One comes in this Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, they should know it. Then you may ask, maybe it is a later text, maybe it is a sacred Rig Veda is there, right? This is different. No. For me, all our sacred Vedas are Anadi. They have no time. They are eternal. I won't put a time. But the Western scholars, so-called Western scholars, put the time. And this one is almost a century or two closer to the time of the sacred Rig Veda corpus. So now, the question which we need to ask these Western Indologists is, everywhere if we go, many people will talk about Purusha Sukta, many people will talk about this hierarchy, top 1, 2, 3, 4. But scholarly integrity and academic integrity means they should have also said that there is another view like this in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Why would they not talk about this?
Didn't anybody question it then in the 18th century or in the 19th century?
That I am not aware of, Rashmiji. But in fact, even modern discourse, there is a lot of people who are talking about discrimination, and then there is a Purusha Sukta is hierarchical. Right? So what I had put out as a humble thing, not as a challenge, but as a humble request to many of those scholars is, I have made in our website called saptarishi.org, I have said that anybody who is willing to come and prove me wrong, that whatever is my interpretation, whatever I am saying, I am willing to give them 50,000 rupees as a matter of seriousness. So my request is to all your viewers and to you also is, please broadcast this. This has been standing there for almost 11 to 12 months. No one has ever come and then challenged it. And I would like this to be disputed, right? If people have a different view, let them come, right? That is how we make progress, right? So I have given the evidence. I am waiting, but no, there is still nobody has taken up the challenge. Okay, so I addressed that question. I hope I addressed your question there. So we clarified that there is no such thing like a hierarchy, like a higher, lower. Now, you had one question about the education, and I referred to Dr. Dharampalji there, right? So Dharampalji has done extensive work on the British records. He has actually compiled the British records of 1850s, 60s and 70s on how our schooling system has been. And he has conclusively proved that, example, in many places, 50 to 60% of the students were from the Shudra community.
In Gurukulas.
In Gurukulas. And it was a very inclusive phenomenon. And the teacher was not even given fixed salaries. Sometimes people will give them whatever they can help them with grains, this, like that. Right? People were part-time teachers, right? And then part-time they'll go till the fields. And in many places, for example, in North, I think there were caste community had more teachers. So if a community has a lot of teachers, right? I think in some places in the North. Right? And I have shared all that data in the book itself. So it was a system where everybody was able to read, and everybody was able to get admission into the Gurukuls.
So where were you doing all your R&D? Where were you getting the points, touch points, as to complete the whole journey?
That's nice. A lot of scholars have reached out to me, because when we started doing this exercise, as they say, many have offered help also. But I have to say this, what we are doing today is not even 1 by 1,000 or 1 by 50,000 of what Dr. Dharampalji has done. He had, remember, there was no photocopy machines that time. There were no phones. There were no internet. And he had painstakingly gone to libraries and sat and written all these tables. So the book is called Beautiful Tree. It's called The Beautiful Tree by Dr. Dharampalji, a Gandhian, a very excellent human being, And
So,
we
top
are very
five.
fortunate that we had such a person in among us, and he has singularly disproved the education myth, that education system was only exclusive and that the British came and gave us education. No, there is no such thing like that.
Top 5 myths to be busted from the book. One is the education system, wherein Gurukula was a very good system which had all the, you know, all the caste or the divide. Everybody was part of Gurukula is one myth that we have to bust through that. What are other myths one can bust, keeping that as a lens?
Yes. It is a civilizational battle, as I say, right? In that civilizational battle, what happens after 1857 is that they have to justify the rule in India, because then they have become the rulers, right? They are no longer the traders. So
How did that happen? How did they become rulers from traders? Like, what was
the sequence, they went on capturing one by one, right? So they were all the kingdoms they were taking, and some were fought, and then some like they were paying the royalty to them, right, in the samasthanas. And then they started slowly taking over control of them. They say first we will take over the military part, then the economic part. So it was a British occupation of India took quite a long time, right? In terms, it's not like a one-day war or maybe a single war, right? Multiple wars.
What
and
changed
everywhere.
the main mindset for them, sir? They came as traders, right?
Correct.
How did they even think that they can be rulers?
It's a good question. Maybe because I think they say that a lot of that has got to do with the way the warfare was, right? Because we many people say that, right, the way they brought in their artillery and then the guns and others, right? So we were no match into that, is what some of the military people are saying. Some of the other experts are saying that there were many factions also within India, so the British were able to navigate it around to their strength. Right. So, and you can see that pattern also. It is not just the British who came, right? So we had Portuguese come in, we had the Dutch come in, right? So all these people were coming in across. So it was possibly their military technology, something. Every civilization goes through this phase, right, where it gets goes through a phase where it dips. It's a civilizational high point, and then there is also a low point. Now, so that is my information. So I don't have a precise answer as to how they were able to conquer. Right? Now, coming back, when they did conquer, then they have to tell their people in their countries that they are doing something very important. Right? How did they do that? They did it by two things. One is to say that, see, we are here on a civilizing mission. We are actually doing a favor to these people.
That was a narrative they gave it to the headquarters, which is the England.
Correct. They have to tell the Indians also that we are here to help you. Right? See, you are all being suppressed in this country. Now I am going to give you education. Now I am going to give you medical care. Right? And incidentally, these are the two things which they say that, right? If you ask many people now, right, going back, they will say, oh, rule of law. They gave us education systems, they made medical care, right? These are the three things which come up. And I let our viewers think, for an average Indian today, where does he or she spend the maximum amount of money in a when they have a child, and when they bring up a child, where or for themselves, where is the biggest amount of money goes? In the two buckets.
Same thing, education and hospital.
So is it a coincidence? We have to think about it. Is it a coincidence? If they made it so accessible to us, if they made it so good for us, right? Anyway, so I stopped there. Now, so that is where we left. So the British continued their policies towards India, that they are having to be the rulers, we are the barbarians, and then the Aryan theory comes in, right? So they start using that Aryan theory.
What is Aryan theory?
Aryan theory is that it came up in the academic circle that they had to find a way where they have to find oppressor-oppressed narrative, we call it. There was an oppressor and there has to be an oppressed. So they were trying to look for it, and then there was a person called Max Muller who misinterpreted a single sentence in the sacred Rig Veda, saying that word is called Anasa. anasa, it can be read as noseless, or it can be read as of defective speech. It can be interpreted this way. We call it sandhi splitting.
Nasa means nose in Sanskrit.
you can-
Anasa is
It depends on how you split the sandhi. You can say anasa is also the one way, anasa is also another way to read it. Many of our commentators, including who have been our Bhashyakaras for so many generations, they have never interpreted it as noseless. Right? So he created a race out of that, claiming that these Aryas were different, and then there was a different race called. So there are two different races. The Aryas came, they subjugated the native population, so they oppressed these people. This was the story. Which
so
was
that's
put up.
how Anasa
Was used. The Arya word was used. The Arya word was never used, and Dr. Babasaheb Dr. Ambedkar explains it very beautifully. Right, and he was one of the most logical refutations of the Aryan invasion theory has come from Babasaheb Dr. Ambedkar.
Why do you say that?
Because I have fought a court case, Honorable Madras High Court. I had filed a case because a lot of these textbooks were talking about Aryan invasion. They were talking about Aryan race. And if you see the literature, one of the most, I would say, a very logical argumentation against this Aryan invasion theory came from Dr. B.R. Ambedkar.
So
It's
what was Ambedkar's what do you call it? Report? What was his analogy about?
It's quite a lot. He has given a complete treatise of it. He has gone through each stage by stage. He calls it, I think he calls it actually as nothing but pleasing assumptions and inferences based on pleasing assumptions. He says the Aryan invasion theory is a perversion of scientific investigation, he calls it. I don't know how they come up with this. He is saying that, and he goes through every step of this. That the word called dasa is there, and there is a word called dasyos, and he says these words are not to be interpreted as being oppressed,
slave or whatever.
Correct. And it is evident to us because if we have to believe that there is supposed to be a dasa with 99 arms. Is he a human? First of all, there is no such thing in our sacred Vedas to say that all these are referring to human beings at all. So these people will selectively take certain things and then they will attribute it to the sacred Vedas, and that has been the pattern all along. Right? So that is how they went through it. So long story short, so this has been they have been getting more and more information. They have been getting more and more, depending on how their world view was, how their political view was, they were using all these tales to come up with.
So
And that is how
basically,
the
the Aryan invasion is a myth. There's no
Yes.
proof to it.
There is no proof to it.
What was the case that you fought? I mean, we were talking about how there is the school textbooks which speaks about Aryans, and wherein you had put a court case
Correct.
questioning the origin of it, no proof to it. So can you please walk us through what happened?
Sure. In the Honorable Madras High Court, I had filed a case. The case is about false and misleading assertions saying that there was an Aryan invasion and there is a Aryan race. Right. So I had prayed to the Honorable Court that this kind of views should not be there because this is not even a proven fact. It is a hypothesis. Because hypothesis anybody can make. Right? So any of these hypotheses has no proof, and there is plenty of proof, including Babasaheb Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's own argumentations about why there is no such thing like a Aryan race or a Aryan invasion. Right? And this has been, I have given a lot of evidences to that. I submitted it to the court. Right? And the Honorable Court said that when the case came up for hearing, and there was a provision in our Advocates Act where if we go through an interview process, we are eligible, we can argue our own case. So this case was argued by me in person. So the Honorable Court asked this, saying that, see, you are giving us a lot of evidence. Not just, I have given plenty of other scholars also. And all these scholarly articles and refutations, right, which were given as part of the evidence, the Honorable Court said, okay, but we also have to see that the textbook committees, which is the NCERT and the SCERT, we call them. See, these textbook committees were also written by experts. right? So they would have also based their material on evidence. So the honorable court will not be in a position to decide whether this race theory is valid or not. We are not the experts on the race theory. So why don't we do this? We give you a personal hearing and you go and then submit all your evidence and get a feedback from the NCRT and ACRT. So as part of the hearing process, what happened was, then I got feedback from the ACRT as well, saying that there is no Aryan race. No, race is not a concept. Aryan is not a racial concept. There is no Aryan invasion. Their view is that Aryan is a linguistic concept and some people, linguistic speakers, might have migrated into India. So that is their official view. Same thing NCRT has also said, no, there is no Aryan invasion. There is no such thing like a Aryan race. Right? So now we have taken that out of the equation, that there is no such thing like Aryan race has been proven.
So now the edits have happened in the textbook already?
Hopefully yes, because many of the textbooks which had that have been the newer version of the textbooks don't have those passages anymore. It should not have.
So now with this background, how can the younger generation, engage with the Indic history without either, falling into blind glorification or total rejection?
That's an interesting question, because that's when the second book actually came about, because after the first book came about and after we were going through many of these discussions, a lot of parents were calling me, especially parents from abroad or maybe even young professionals. They used to call, and then there is this thing called WhatsApp. Now they have this facility of conference calls, right? So they used to put it to their own children many times, getting them in the conference call, saying, and many of them had this view that when they talk about Hinduism, they talk about discrimination, non-egalitarian, hierarchical Hinduism. So they get these negative views given to them about Hinduism.
Mm-hmm.
So when it is, and then they go through is, in a way they feel that almost what I could call as a self-hatred, where they start developing about our own civilization, saying that why is it, right? Why is all these things are happening, right? Why they don't feel proud about their own civilization. So when I start answering them, and then many youngsters today, like, they want to have evidences, right? They don't take our words for it, right? They want to say, show me where is the primary evidence in this. Right? So I started giving them primary evidence also to support whatever is being said. Then they have a misconception. I say, no, please go look into this. This is how it is. This is the source for it.
So for example, what are the websites that we all can visit to see, to question a part of history?
There are plenty. In fact, we have created a website called saptarishi.org, right, where many of our arguments are also put out. A specific example like the Purusha Sukta I talked about, right? So like that, now for the caste system, we are going to come up with 12 questions, right? So people can think about it. And the entire book is based on that. The Casticide book is all based on, and one of the features of this book is that every one of the arguments which is made, there will be plenty of reference quotes will be there.
So what is this Casticide about? Like you spoke about 12 questions that we're going to put. So what are these 12 questions?
Yeah, this is about the caste system, right? So just to give our viewers an overview, there is no such thing like a caste system. The caste system is a myth of Western invention.
So like you were saying, it was British's strategy to break unity of India through caste system, which used to be the Varna Beda before. So this is a new age thing, is it so?
So they used the word caste. So we don't, again, it is maybe part of their strategy to use the different Varna Jati groups into against one another for their division. But the entire caste system theory, we don't know how it came about, because unless that they used what was in the Spanish, the word caste itself is not Indian. First of all.
So what does it
comes
mean?
from Spanish word called castas, right? And it also it went into the Latin Americas, where they created something called castas, Siesma castas or something like that they created. I think I have mentioned it in the book there. So Siesma di casta is based on race, and there is a concept called limpeza di sangre. So the limpeza di sangre concept is called purity of blood. So they look for if a person has got a different racial origin, like African or Latin American, different race origins they mix, right? Depending on that, they call them as different casta system. It's called the casta system. Okay.
So the purity of blood is basis the color of the skin.
No, they call it racial. It is more racial thing, right? That is what they.
Because blood is the same everywhere, but it's just a skin color through which they wanted to see the.
They have used race. Race is the criterion, and one of the indicators of race could be the skin color also. Absolutely. Right. So that is.
So
how
what are
they
the other parameters?
So they had plenty, right, in the casta system. They went through it, and then if you see in the picture, in the book, there will be a picture of almost like 16 different gradations they would have put.
So the feudal society had king, lords, vassal, knights, and then peasants and town people.
So these are the 16,
also did
you can
this,
show
right?
it here. Yeah, you got it right.
Wow.
So these are the 16 different castas which they arrived at. And so this is how they brought this word into this. And
Depicting the casta or the casta system. So this is from Mexico's colonial period.
correct. Latin Americans. Latin Americas, you can say. And then the wherever the Spanish were ruling at that point of time, right? It has that meaning. So when we use the word caste, that is why the problem comes is it has a certain historical context behind it, right? So it has a certain understanding of it. But they have kind of started using this system words into India. So if we ask, right, what is caste system? Maybe you should start asking that question to people. What is the definition of caste system?
Yes.
Right?
So what was it before the British era is what we know, the Varna system. So how did the foundation of the caste system change India after British came?
So they started describing our systems as a caste system. They started I think there is a person called Bernard Cohen. He says the British India simultaneously they classified and they also categorized our systems, right? They kind of then they miscategorized that, and then they expected Indians to behave that way.
As in, for
Right?
example?
So when you see what they do is there are certain complex things which may be there. They reduce it to a few metonyms. They call it, right. So when you reduce it, for example, when they say that there is a hierarchical system, right, and then in the hierarchical system, Brahmin is supposed to be the highest, right? Something like that. All these were in their view, and then they wanted people to be put in certain groups. And it is interesting that I would say I think in the 1901 census of British, many of the caste groups were coming and saying that, you know what, we have been misclassified. We should be higher in the order which you have given. And not in, and it's almost supposed to be 1.5 mounds worth of petitions have gone. 1.5 mounds is roughly about 50 kilogram worth of papers of petition. Many caste groups have gone and said we are Kshatriyas, we are Vaishyas, we are different, and all this. And then many communities, because the British rank ordered, and then they said this is high, this is low, and it never was in Indian drishti, and everybody wanted to be correctly represented. They called it, right?
Then?
So that is how. So then when they created this system, now all this system which you are following is the British system. It is not our Varna Jati system. So that's it. So we have become prisoners of the colonial view.
Right. So how can today's young generation engage with this Indic history? Like, there are two extremes, blind rejection or glorification. Blind glorification, or it can be total rejection. So how to find a space, like where should I stand?
I think the best thing is, I would say there is a couplet in Tamil, which is எப்பொருள் யாரார் வாய் கேட்பினும் அப்பொருள் மெய்ப்பொருள் காண்பது அறிவு. Meaning, whoever says what, right? Please go and find out the real research and find out the actual facts. So this is மெய்ப்பொருள் means the truth. Go and establish the truth. Don't just take somebody's opinion. So when somebody says there is a caste system, please ask them for a definition. And today's youngsters, I think you have a great benefit. Like you have
Internet.
Google, so-called internet, search
AI.
engines, everything is there, right? Oh, AI, I'll come to that. AI may be a bit tricky. We have to work on that. I'll come to that. When you go look for primary sources, right? What we call as primary sources, not some secondary source. Now, this person said, that person said no, right? Where is the evidence? Go probing it deeper. If that person says something in history, there is something supposed to be primary source quote. Where is the quote? Who has quoted it? Which book? From 5th century, 4th century, 3rd century? Where has it come from? Start asking those questions. And or a shorter way of doing it may be that go and learn from multiple sources. And because in India, in the Bharatiya civilization, we used to say that a learned person is not a well-read person. He is a well-taught person. Right? So our bhava is always a guru shishya bhava. Right? So reading is a good habit. Definitely we have to read and we have to go over research. But it is also good to find a guru who can also guide. Because there is so much out there, right? Where do we go and start doing our research, or where because we don't want to be lost in all this, right? So a guru can guide you on that. Did I answer your question there?
Yeah. So today we are talking about British era civilizations and myths. So too many things that we all know. Like British gave us the railways. It's not for our benefit, but because they wanted to take away, a lot of things from us. That's why they established that. They brought the education system, which clearly we have established it. We had the Gurukula system. They demolished it. We had our Ayurveda in practice. Now they took that away, and then this was again put as a seed, the modern medicine. Now caste system is created. So now if you had to explain it to a 10-year-old, what British did to India in those 200 years, how would you put it across?
So, 10-year-old maybe a bit, if I may modify the question maybe to a youngster, I will put, because 10-year-old, I don't know how equipped I am to give an answer.
It's just a way of us asking you to simplify it as much as possible.
Understood. Understood. To an youngster, I would say this, because teaching a 10-year-old is one, because I have a huge respect for teachers whom can engage with a 10-year-old audience. Right. So having said that, I'll say it's a youngster. For a youngster, I will say $45 trillion has been taken out of India.
$45 trillion.
Okay. And this one, I think even our Honorable External Affairs Minister himself has quoted this. Okay. So this is based on some researchers, right, estimates. Now, is it 45, is it 40, is it 35? I don't know, right? These are all scholarly estimates, we can call it, and they are estimates. So if I say $45 trillion, it does not give you a good impact. Let me put it another way. For a family of 4, considering a 1.2, 1.3 billion population, if you divide this $45 trillion and using a current exchange rate, each family of 4 should be getting close to 1 crore rupees in today's money.
If British decides to give it back.
Yeah, they can't. I think that GDP itself will take 10 years. I don't think that will be possible. But just they say that each family in India at current rate would have been a crorepati.
1 crore would have been back to. Okay, got it. That's how much they have taken.
Correct. And how much?
This is after considering inflation.
Yes, it is the current rate. And the current rate is. Now, if we look, how much of discussion is today happening about reparations from British?
What is reparations?
Reparations is getting something back from the British, right? They're getting a compensation back.
Where, sir? We are yet to get Kohinoor only, forget the others.
Correct. But we get other discussions, right? That we are talking about, something happened 5,000 years back, then we are talking about all that history, right? And saying, something happened 5,000 years back, something happened 4,000 years back, but 200 years back somebody came and then he took $45 trillion. Right? What are we doing about it? Second question. Now, there are certain researchers which say that during the period 1880 to 1920, the British policies created so much of famines and excess deaths. The excess deaths are supposed to be in the tune of about 5 crores. 5 crore lives we lost because of British policy. This is a documented fact, because of mismanagement, because of famines. And India had during that time more deaths in famines than what Soviet Russia at that time and China, North Korea all combined. Their death toll was exceeded by India alone. India had so much of famine deaths. And during those time of famines, how did the British actually rule us?
How?
We have to give you an example, and I want our readers to go and also read, because as I say, right, that there are certain things where I would encourage our viewers to go and look for themselves. There is something called temple diet. Temple diet. Okay. In the 1857 famine, I'm talking about 1861 famine, or if I'm not wrong, there a person called Sir Richard Temple, I think his name is. He was a administrator, and in the previous few years back, I think he is supposed to have been more generous in giving relief to the Indian population. So the British people were actually feeling the organization was against him, saying that why you were being so generous, right, in giving relief.
Mm-hmm.
So our person came up, and then he came saying that how to give the most minimal food, the calories, to them, to the famine victims, to save, so that it is more economical. And it is called temple diet, right? And then
Named after him.
Named after him. No, it's
Not
it's called.
not our temple.
Yeah, it is almost. It's not our temples. Yeah, good clarification. So this temple diet is, and there is one book where the person is saying some other colonial administrators themselves are saying it is better to shoot these people than to make them die. These people are like skeletons already, and you are trying to do experiments with them with this kind of diets. Right now, they talk about egalitarian society to us. They talk about humanity to us. This Western civilization, and so we have to take. It is not a criticism, but we have to take all these things with actual facts, because there is a entire book called Homo Hierarchicus which has been written, which is talking about how the Western society was egalitarian, and then how the Indian society is by inherently hierarchical. Every famous professor called Professor Louis Dumont has written that. And
it's called as Homo
Hierarchicus, and there is a separate chapter in our book where I have kind of argued against with the facts that there is no such thing like he has created a model which I think is not valid in my opinion. And I don't want to take Tom too much, because unfortunately Professor Louis Dumont is no longer with us, right? He has been almost, I think, 4 or 5 decades since he has passed. He is not here to give a counter argument, but we have to kind of get some scholars to actually kind of debate this more, because this book is being taught, I think, as a syllabus in some universities also. So we need to look at it to say what is the counter arguments, where is our counter arguments. So the Homo Hierarchicus, coming back, it says that the Western society was egalitarian. But then there is, I think, if I'm not wrong, there is a Professor Andre Betley. He is an Indian scholar, a great scholar. He actually says, your egalitarianism is not measured in your home country. If you are so egalitarian, right, what were they doing in Americas to the Native Americans? What were they doing to the Native Canadians? What were they doing to the native Australians? In some of these places, they have taken young children away, saying that they need to be civilized, and put them in different schools, forced, taking them away from their parents, saying that they need to be civilized. Right? So the same thing happened in India also. Right?
So this genocide and all the, I think genocide only, right? I've been told between 1770 and 1947, India has seen 10 major famines killing tens of millions. So why is this not the part of our textbooks? Is it all hidden, or it is whitewashed from our textbooks?
It's a good question. I don't know, but it is not showing up. Right, you are right. Because if you say there are different metrics, because this is from, I think, there are two researchers who had made some of these estimates. I think Jason Hickel and another person, I don't remember his name. So they have actually, I think Daryl Sullivan, if I'm not wrong. So these two professors have estimated that even in there is something called mortality rate. Mortality rate is the number of deaths, I think, in statistical number. Right? The mortality rate has increased during this period. The other one is life expectancy. It's a reverse of this.
Mm-hmm.
The life expectancy during the period 1880 to 1920, it was at 26.7 or something, and it moved to 21.9. It dropped.
Damn.
So
26 itself is so low.
So low, and then 21.9 people were dying. Okay? And extreme poverty. Right? The extreme poverty is a measure. Now, this is the egalitarian society we are talking about, right? The British egalitarianism. When the British, before they came in, somewhere I think in the 18th century, beginning to that, till the time they left, it moved from 23% to 50%, almost.
What?
the extreme poverty.
Oh God.
Meaning 1 in 2 Indians were in extreme poverty. So these are statistics.
So what were few British policies that actually caused a lot of deaths through famine and
One is they did, there are many. One key things which I come to my mind immediately is that I think in 1860 or around that period, in the English Parliament, our East India Company person goes and says, we have successfully converted India from a manufacturing economy to a raw material producing economy.
Acha, before that we were a manufacturing
company.
economy.
Our textile industries were world over celebrated. Our artistic works were celebrated. India was and there is I think Angus Madison's research is there. Till 15th, 16th century, still India was still one of the 2 top economies of the world. So we became from, and though when people say we are a third world country, so I take a lot of offense to that, because we were not. We were rich in everything. We were rich in intellectual thought. We were rich in our heritage. We were blessed with natural resources, and more importantly, I think against all of this, we were a land of seekers, and we never built our economy. And this is the most unique thing which I will tell to all youngsters is, you go see every civilization which has become successful or materially, right, is because of using slavery. Ours is the only civilization which did not practice slavery.
Wow.
So we built. So Indians can be very proud of these facts, and we all should be. So
Yes.
And these facts are hidden from us, and that is why this tale of caste system is being thrown into us as if it characterizes our Indian society. No, it is not.
Thank you for throwing so much light, so that I think we start questioning a lot of things and we own our culture in a different way after today. So now, knowing all of this, no wonder they say history is not pleasant all the time. Now, how should today's youngsters live with this fact and look at the West, not a part of our history's enemies.
Yeah. See, one is, I think it is, we have to be proud of our ancestors, and we have to be proud of our civilization. That is what this whole battle is about. I'll come to that. Second thing is, it is not correct to view today's Western civilization as responsible for what has happened in 200 years back or 300 years back. These people who are living with us today, they are in no way responsible for what happened. Right? So there is no such thing like saying that, oh, this happened, your ancestors did, my ancestors did. See, history has to be taken so that what is the learning we can get out of this? The learning has to be, should we be united? What should we do to make sure that there is no other type of colonization which happens to us? It can happen to us in thought colonization also. I say thought colonization because we can also be mentally keeping Western as a role model. That is also what we call as a thought colonialism. Right?
Example?
We have to, if we look at the caste system itself, right? By using such words, we are actually being the intellectual sepoys of the West.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We call them intellectual
Mentally
sepoys
we
of the
are
West.
still-
But they're still the sepoys of the West. We use their terms, we use their terminology, we use their words. So why should we use? We should say there is no such thing like caste system. Use Varna Jati.
Oh.
Instead, start using local terms, and the youngsters should also understand that this war, the civilization battle on knowledge systems, what are the 2 top contributions of Bharatiya civilization to the humanity? If I ask you, maybe you may say yoga, you may say Ayurveda. Correct?
Zero.
These things are
Aryavada.
mathematics and others. So mathematics and other things they have slowly started to acknowledge.
Chess.
They have started to acknowledge all that. Right? But yoga and Ayurveda, can you name 5 top brands in the world today which are Indian?
Mm-hmm. One is, I don't know outside the, I
Global,
don't know,
I'm saying global
globally.
brands.
In India, there is Patanjali, and I'm not sure rest of the world.
Hardly any. right? And that is where, because now lot of our knowledge in yoga and others is being recycled back as their inventions. Example, recently I saw somebody giving me some very fancy description about what we used to call as a Brahmari pranayama. Like you make a murmur sound, right? So this murmur sound is supposed to be giving a sound vibration, and it goes and helps your mucous muscles or whatever, right? And in the cells, and it is supposed to be giving nitric oxide, better benefit to us and others. So this is what we call as Brahmari pranayama. Now they have started, the word which I think many scholars have used, especially I think Dr. Rajiv Malhotra has used, is called digestion. They will digest it, our knowledge, and then they will repackage it and give it back to us, right? So yoga and Ayurveda are expected to be billions of dollars of industry, economic worth, potential to generate thousands of jobs. So that is why we have to take control of our knowledge systems, not just the narrative, but also how we produce knowledge.
How to do that?
Yes, so that process itself is now westernized, right? So the way we view knowledge, the way we view fact, we call it epistemology, we call it ontology, all the way we use words, the way we use how we describe our knowledge, how all that has to be come into the Bharatiya drishti. And I think today a lot of focus is there on Indian knowledge systems, IKS they call it. So one needs to get more and more, we need to see more and more of that happening, where we start going and accessing our traditional knowledge. And Dr. Vivek Debroy, I think he is no longer with us, unfortunately. I think recently he attained Sadgati. He used to say that, I quote him, I think almost 40 million manuscripts, almost close to 4 crores, you can say, are not even not even translated. In many of these, we don't even know what is there.
So,
in many of these
where are these?
In various places, public collection, private collection across the world.
So you're saying this is gold that we are sitting on, we should dig and then do something about it.
Correct. And there are some scripts where we may not even have experts to read it. So this is the... So we have to take control of this. We have to get maybe IKS, more and more into IKS, Indian knowledge systems. And going back into that again, right, that it is not, history is not learned to get dvesha, right, that okay, no, I am going to hate all Western, I am going to revenge. No, it's not that, right. We need to know what happened. We need to understand our ancient history, and as Bharats, we also have an additional responsibility. We are the only primordial civilization which is still connected to the ancestors.
Primordial as in?
Primordial as in from the eternal time, from the ancient times. Because the sacred Vedas, which are chanted today in any Padashala, are being chanted exactly the same way for thousands of years by a tradition.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, and we are the only, what they call as the pagan civilization. I don't know if you heard of the term called pagan, as in many of the native tradition. We still have survived. In many places, the pagan civilizations have not survived. Right? So we have a duty to also go back, because characteristic of pagan civilization is ancestral respect and worship. Right? We respect our traditions. We respect our ancestors. So if we follow our dharma, that means we are respecting our ancestors, their traditions. And so we need to be there. The India needs to fight this battle of civilization, so that the world over, the pagan civilizations are also being represented. Today they are not.
So 5 things that they can do. 5 things that we all can do as Indians to fight this.
Yeah, few things which we can do. One is creating awareness. Getting awareness first. Second is getting convinced about it. Right? And third is, now for our viewers here, you have taken the time to come up to this part of the podcast. So please go and talk to your friends and relatives about it. Right? So many of us talk about many of our hobbies, our sports, everything. No harm in that. Right? But take some time
to talk about this history, what was not rightly represented.
And how do we teach our younger generation all this? And engage with our younger generation. Right? Walk them through our history, right? Our perspectives, right? Let them think about it, and then go and learn more about it. So these are the few things which we can do. And the other thing is follow whatever ritual practices you have been doing. The rituals are a very, very important part, because when I say, people say, I'm not very ritualistic. I'm not sure, because rituals are a way of ancient civilization, across the ancient civilizations. Right? You see, rituals formed a very important part of community. You belong to a community in a religion because you lead the self. I would say that takes a step back in a ritual. The self does not go and represent. It is a community which comes together and performs certain tasks. So rituals are very, very important for us.
So what are few rituals that you have kept alive?
So the biggest thing which I think we all can be proud of as Bharatiyas is that we have still kept almost all our traditions alive.
We
Right?
celebrate festivals.
Every festival has to be celebrated, and especially I would say that I think the credit goes to the Bharatiya Naris, the women. Right? So many of the Bharatiya women have actually still today practicing many of these things in spite of all this thought colonization. Instead of all this, we are still surviving as a civilization because they make sure that they do it, and once the women start doing it, they also make sure this is transmitted to the next generations.
I think Shashi Tharoor somewhere mentioned the British Empire was built on the bones of nations it conquered. And, this is probably something which has touched my heart, wherein I think it's an unknown statement, wherein they say we didn't lose to their strength, but we lost to our disunity. So as a nation, if you have to tell people few things to remember, how we should remember the lessons through the British era and look forward to what India can do. What is that you would like to say?
See, the way we can see this is, it took a long time even for the period, even during the period of invasions, from starting 11th century onwards as well. It took a lot of time for this Desh to be conquered. We still were not conquered so much. Right?
From
Because
11th century?
From century, the invasions were happening. Right? From
One or the other.
Other invasions
The
were
Mughals.
happening. So many were fighting. Right? Every time this society has always, this civilization has always come up with a way to re-establish, to re-nurture it, to bring it back to its roots. Right? So when we look at the colonial period as well, I would say that there has been a lot of fight back which has happened. May not have exactly happened at a broader scale as to see, but right, every other place, like from the place where I come, Tamil Nadu, there is a famous Sri Vanchinathan, a young person of 26 who had gone and assassinated Lashe. Similarly, I think in Bengal there was a lot of armed rebellion as well. So all these things were happening to us. So British actually, because they felt that the sun never sets on the British Empire, right? So that is how the Britain was viewed, right? So I think we did, but I think to me, I think the bigger issue today is more about our mental colonization. Are we going to decolonize our education? Are we going to decolonize our thought processes? Right? There is this thing what I call as the post-Renaissance view of the world. That is what we are all living today. Most of the countries, including India, right? There is this Renaissance which has happened, which said, okay, I think our ancestors were all good initially, but then somehow they became, what should I say, right? They somehow got confused, or maybe they went into some wrong thing. But now, after the Renaissance period, now we are bringing that all back into this glory. This is how the undercurrent of the Renaissance view has been. Right? So, in a way, we are disowning our ancestors by believing in all these narratives, is what I would say.
So now I see the book there. It is, Casticide. So why did you choose this image? What does this say?
It's a brilliant question. Thanks for asking. The book, the image, actually, if you see, there is a murti there. Right? The murti image is from South Travancore. The murti is known as Paramasati. That is the name. Paramasakti, you can call it Sati. This was a form of local worship of a Tantric way of worship.
Deity?
Of the deity. And 200 years back, it is supposed to have been partly damaged by the colonials, right? And they have taken it with them. So I when I came across this and others, it was a book called, I think, Samuel Mathier's book, if I'm not wrong. Then in that, I actually wrote to the Honorable Minister of External Affairs in February last year, and they actually took the trouble to find this in the British Museum, not in the display. It is there in one of the rooms or in their walls. They found a murti. So I have requested them that, please, can we get this murti in India? So
you can?
We can.
So
they
you
will
put an
arrange.
application
I
through
put an
government, this has to go.
Correct.
And where is it? When will this come back to us?
I am not sure. They say last I wrote in my email saying they are still working on that. They are talking to the British museum authorities. So we have to get it. And once we get it, we need to find a way to re-establish Murthy in South Travancore. So that is maybe to all our viewers here. If you are all from South Travancore, please do contact any of you. Right?
They can write a mail, is it?
Yeah, we'll have to find a way to build this Murti back, right? We don't want it to be sitting in another museum here. It should belong, the Devi should belong to where the Upasakas are there.
So how is this and the casticide now connected?
Connected, because that's the second part. I think the way this is the whole tree is the dharmic tree. Dharma has got different branches. What the British did, and that is the essential part of it, was that they took a particular form of worship called the Vedic worship of the which is one way of worshipping. But
Vedic
there is
worship.
so many. It is Vedic. There is another group which is known as the Tantra Sastras, Tantric worships.
So two types, Vedic and the Tantric.
So we call them, some of them call it Vamachara also. Right? So this worship of this was mainstream in India. So that is when their entire different ways of worship, British couldn't, or the colonial rulers couldn't imagine that there can be multiple forms of worship. So they called it demonolatory, demons, right? All this kind of worships are there. Whereas there see some temples and then some murtis are there, they are worshipping. How can this two be? They mislabeled it as something, a different worship.
They call it as devil.
Demonolatory, they call it devil worship, and they called it devil temples. They called it actually. Literally they called it. You absolutely said it right. These temples, and in South Travancore alone, as per their own admission, 20,000 of such temples were raised. It's there in the book. I have documented it, and it is their own admission, their own claim. Right? Just imagine, South Travancore is one samastana of India in Travancore. We can call it possibly Kerala now. Right? How much they would have demolished in other places. And the claim they make about Brahminism, they call it Brahminism, right, is that Brahminism was dominating others. But the question is, Brahminism was coexisting with so much of these temples without doing anything about it.
What is Brahminism?
They are not defined it. They are actually called, there is a person called William Monir Williams. One of his books, he talks about Brahminism and Hinduism. I think he calls this Brahminism. He defines it as a different way of worship, and then he calls it as this. And he himself says that all these are, for my own understanding, he says Vedism. There is a period called Vedism. Then it outgrew into Hinduism. And he himself says that these were not terms which are used by them. They use a word called Sanatan Dharma. Right? So Sanatan Dharma has been coexisting with all this for thousands of years, and nobody found the need to demolish them. Now you say this was the egalitarian society which was built by the British, but they demolished 20,000 temples. So this again, we have to think about this.
What is egalitarian system for layman's understanding?
The egalitarian system is all being equal. There is no differentiation. So this is the egalitarian view, and this comes from the whole of we have taken a lot of these Western approaches after independence, right? In my view, I think this is good. A lot of good has also come with that, because it has helped India to move faster in progress, economic progress. India was so deprived of resources. Today we are able to at least have enough food grains for our billions of 1 billion plus people. We are able to take care of that. We are able to progress. So a lot of good things have happened, no debate. But we have also taken some of their frameworks. And these frameworks come from a utilitarian view, what we call as utilitarian view. What is the utility of things, right? This has come from the English, again, a concept of that. So we have adopted some of these things without even realizing what is the consequence of this.
So This is Shakti
image.
Shakti Devi, right?
Shakti Devi.
So like this, I think we have something called as deities down south and coastal areas of Karnataka. Like we have Korgaja, we have a lot of deities.
Okay.
So here in Travancore, even till today, like for our audience who are watching, out of curiosity, if they can go and visit these temples, are there temples? Are there murtis?
I believe some temples do exist with this worships, but not too many. And this particular murti has been raised actually, so it has been taken away to England. So we have to now re-establish that murti. So all these tantras. So just the point I made there was, all the tantras also say Veda as the pramana. They are again coming from the same sacred Vedas.
Veda as a
Pramana for them, their source. They take from
they
the
swear
Veda,
by it, okay?
They take from the Veda. They come, right. So they trace their origin to the Vedas as well, and these and this is across, right. You can say Kularnava Tantra, you can take Brahmayamala Tantra, or you can take Bhairava Tantra. There are so many. Even Shakti worship itself has got about no less than about 20 Tantra documentations are there, and all this rich literature. We are not, again, there is no practitioners who are today able to guide into this proper way, in the sense that because the native medicine practices are very closely linked to tantric practices. It is completely taking over the view at which we view the world. And it is very divisive, it is very corrosive. So the caste system, it has to be broken. So for that, and there is a person called Nicholas Dirks, and I quoted it in the book. He is supposed to have written a very famous book called The Castes of Mind. And he starts the book with this sentence that, right, it is whenever we think of India, it is very difficult to not think of the word caste along with it. So it has become to somehow represent the Indian, or especially the Hindu identity, the caste system. And it is not.
Very tough, because here we are, thinking minds are trying to take away the caste system, while the system today, politics, everything is bringing the people together through caste, through dharmas, whether we like it or not. I think it is going to be a conflict always, and through which evolution always happens, and looking forward to see how India is going to take this with AI coming in, with technology.
Yes. AI is another interesting thing, because AI takes a lot of Western literature today, so-called Western literature, or the Indology literature.
Whatever is written on the net is what
yes,
it feeds off.
so
right?
we need to have enough counterpoints out there, and then train those systems, because otherwise, if the children if younger generation are going to use AI, it is by definition going to go and look at publicly available material.
Data.
And I don't think we have done a very good job as a Bharatiya civilization in terms of putting out enough research papers out there.
People like
right,
you
to
have
counter.
added your own bit. Thanks for that.
Sarvam Krishnarpanam, all Krishna's work.
Amazing, sir. So like the history goes, empires, they rise and fall, kings come and go, but civilizations will always be remembered through the way we have survived, thrived, questioned few things, and I think in the name of what next, the world will continue its journey. And as on today, here we are in 2025, you did help us walk into the memory lane, some tough roads, unforgotten, forgotten past, whitewashed, and some which has to be looked in a different perspective. Thanks to you, and looking forward to your books. Why did you choose Asi as your pen name?
Asi is the name of the civilizational sword of Dharma. So it is a sword which is the primordial weapon. Where this is the first weapon, mother of all weapons, you can call it. Right. So it came from the Ishvara itself, and from the Ishvara, this went to different people. It is listed in Mahabharata, where it is Bhishma Pitamaha answers a question about what is the best weapon, what is the most powerful weapon. So this is in a civilizational battle, we all have to be the civilizational warriors, right? So each and every one of us, whoever is listening to this podcast, you, me, all of us have a part. We are all a part of Asi, right? So that is how that name was chosen as a pen name. That we are part of the same Asi. The Asitva, we call it, right? The essence of Asi is in all of us, and we need to do our part to the Dharma.
Amazing. Keep going. And I hope today our audience have gotten a better perspective as to where the caste came in from, how to question it, what part of it has to be retained or should we retain it all at all. Um,
Great. Can I make a closing comment?
Sure, sir.
Sure. Thank you. And I think first and foremost, thanks for having me in the show and for all your viewers. So I think it's been an engaging conversation. Thank you so much for that. Second is, for those who want additional information, they can look at our website called www.saptarishi.org. Maybe I'll give that my words. Maybe they can put it out in the
Yeah, I mean, as we speak,
right?
yeah.
They can speak. Yeah. Third is, this book is being published by Subbu Publications. So they are doing a lot of dharmic work. They have been into this publication for almost 3 generations now.
This is headed by Ritvik. He was on our podcast, Kannada podcast as well.
Yeah. So books of this genre, we call it, right? So there are books which have a ready-made audience. For example, if there is a book which I write calling Management Techniques from Mandukya Upanishad, right? So that is quite eye-catching, and then there may be quite a good clientele for it who may be willing to read. But these kind of books, we need to have a much more audience, and Subbu Publications is doing a lot of good work in that area. So please do support them. Go to their website, not just this book. They have many other good collection of books there.
What's your other favorite books?
Oh, there is a complete, they have a repository of Dr. S.L. Bhairappa's works out there, right? And then they are also translating some of them into English as well, right? So I think that those are excellent works. I think I've been a personal fan of him myself, and I had the opportunity to actually meet sir with the first book, and Ishwara Kripa, I intend to meet him again very soon.
Oh, wow. Parva is very well celebrated
Absolutely.
book of his.
Absolutely.
Vamsha Vriksha and lot.
And then the last thing is there is something called there is no dharma without artha. So for our civilizational revival, there is something called as a Hindu fund which has been created. A person called Rahul Diwanji is behind that. He used to run a podcast called, I think, Sangam Talks before. There is a famous channel. So he's taking a lot of pioneering effort in that. So please, when time permits, visit the Hindu Fund website, and if people can support it monetarily, please do support it. Any small contribution is welcome to that.
So what happens with that contribution?
So they have individual projects where they are investing in.
What are the projects like?
Oh, quite a lot of them are there. There is a complete menu card which they have put out there. Various people, and then when you see this, right, so many activities from I would say it's a quite spectrum, right? From legal activities to nurturing our traditions, to preserving our manuscripts, to translating them. Then there is a famous Telugu phrase, I think, which comes from Saint Tyagaraja. Right, it is one of the Tyagaraja Gite. We say, "Entaro Mahanubhavalu Antariki Vandanamulu." Right, there are so many Mahanubhavas. So when we see that work, I get always motivated to see so many Mahanubhavans are there doing so much of work silently,
purpose-driven individuals for the society and not for their own.
Not for their own benefit. They are just doing their work silently, taking their part in doing the dharma seriously. And Rahul Diwanji is actually trying to do what he can to support them in terms of with his Hindu fund and others. So please do look at it. Whichever one pleases you, whichever one you think is your favorite, please go and support it as well.
Surely. So it's a tradition that, we give a book to all our guests who come on the show. So I have 2 books. I don't know what you're going to pick today. One is Energize Your Mind by Gaur Gopal Das. The other one is A Pursuit of Happiness by Daniel G. Brington. So what are you in the mood for this phase of your life? What book
I think
do you want to choose?
These are 2 good choices, Rashmi-ji. First of all, thank you so much for that. And I have that book, the Happiness Part book, right? So that one, it's The Pursuit of Happiness, right? I have already, I think I have a copy of that.
Oh, wow.
So maybe the other one, maybe I'll take, because I don't have that collection.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Surely. While I sign something for you, could you please nominate 3 guests that you think should be part of Just Curious India? And any area of expertise is fine. Whom would you like to nominate?
Yeah, it's let me think about it. Number 1 which comes to my mind is Sri Rahul Diwanji, because he's doing pioneering work on the Hindu fund. So maybe if time permits, you should interview him. He's again a very interesting personality. He has had a very successful corporate career. He created a big business himself, and then he sold it, and then he's doing so much for the dharma. So it's quite a transformative one. The second personality which I would always say is, I don't know if if it is possible, you should, I think, have Dr. S.L. Bhairappa on this show. Right? That will be ideal. That will be my wish list, I would say. Then the third person choice will be difficult. But since it is Karnataka, Bangalore based, I think one of my favorites will be Dr. Sadavadani Ganeshji.
Oh, wow.
So he is again a very eminent personality. So, and maybe I'll go for a fourth choice. There is a person called Dr. M.S. Chaitra. He is a professor. He's been trained in the school of what we call as the Dr. S.N. Balagangadhara. Is a very eminent personality. He actually comes from Karnataka. He is
What is he trained
scholar.
in?
So he's Dr. S.N. Balagangadhara is in, I think he lives in Belgium. He's created a university there. He's heading a chair in the university about, I think, cultural studies, religious studies, and other. He's a very well-known expert in the field. And Dr. M.S. Chaitra is again a very learned personality. He has been a professor in the Chanakya University before. He just started a foundation.
What topics can he cover if at all, if he is part of the show?
He's an expert on the caste systems, on the research works, on Indian knowledge systems. So he's a very eminent scholar. He's authored many research papers himself. So you will get a flavor of how exactly academic work is being done on the Indian knowledge systems. He's an authority. In fact, I think days back, I think almost 2 weeks back, they created, he has been part of a huge conference on Indian knowledge systems which happened in Delhi as well.
So I've written few words. Dear Asi sir, wish you the best in your exploration of unknown, and society needs more of pen warriors like you. More power to you.
Sarvam Krishnarpanam. Dhanyasmi.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Also, here's a treat box from Polar Bear. This is few tubs of ice cream for you. Okay. Sunday love it is. You are dieting, right? Today it is your Chaturmasya?
It is Chaturmasya, and normally I don't eat this kind of sweets, but definitely I'll find some people who will be, yes, maybe some Padasala Vidyarthis if they are interested. So, thank you.
And here goes a happy ball. That's for you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Rashmiji.
You don't have to get up and all, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Receiving is a tradition that way. So, thank you for being a good host. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Until next time, of course, we will definitely look forward to your name in the book racks as to what Asi is going to now write a book on. All the best for Casticide, and also the other book that people can go shopping. This is Brahmin Genocide. This is your first book and this is your second.
Correct.
Thank you, and until next time, continue to stay curious, sir. And on the personal front, how is life? What's happening on your what's happening in your personal life?
So in a few weeks from now, you will hear about our next initiative. So as I say, right, books are a part of the journey. Right? So I'm looking at the next milestone, and our Dharmacharya used to say always that do and then speak. Right? So I am almost 80% stage into that. I will keep you informed in about 3 weeks time, and to all your viewers also that yes, some other things are in progress. It's been a journey like last few months. That is why I have been on this sankalpa to finish this. We'll do it.
Is it a temple? I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, okay. Looking forward to.
Please, sorry. The idea is not to keep it suspenseful, but it is just that.
It's fine. It's fine.
It is just that.
It's a practice. It's a belief, right? Till the time it comes out, you don't speak about it.
Exactly. So it's our Acharya is always say, because otherwise what happens is people speak about it a lot and then they don't do. Right. So there is this doing and talking gap. Right. So better do and then talk.
Yeah. Interesting. So I guess today we've got a deep dive into the caste system, where it's coming from, a lot of reflections about what British era has done to us, and some reflections about the Brahmin genocide, and also selfless souls like Mr. Asi sir, who is now in pursuit of probably something that you want to give back to the society. Keep going, sir. And I think this is our way to pitch in our bit by staying aware, by being conscious human beings. And people wanting to join your movement, is there a voluntary service that they can offer?
Yes, they can be part of the saptarishi.org. They can go there and whatever they would like to contribute, for example, like translating stuff. Or the more simpler thing I would say is go and talk to 10 people if you're aware of this. Talk about what we are doing. Create awareness. That 10 should create another 10, and that is how the more people will join. We call it a yagna, so we can all be part of the dharmic yagna together. Right? So that is the way about it. And again, Rashmiji, I think I'm quite impressed that you are able to listen, which is the most important characteristic which not many of us have, right? You are an active listener, and you keep guiding the conversation by active listening and then taking this forward. So we all have a lot to learn from you as well, right? Right. So
Thank
this
you,
is
sir.
this is a skill not many will have, right? Because the tendency of people is when somebody, as I said before as well, right? The moment we talk, people are thinking how to respond or how do I do this, but to keep being in that moment is a very good yogic practice.
Thank you, sir. I think, like I mentioned before, as RJ Rapid Rashmi, I think 18, 19 good years has been spent in just me
Ishvara.
talking. I think now it is payback time. I
Yes.
should just listen to people while I learn and while I be a curious student myself. Thank you so much, sir. Until next time.
That's
take
an
care.
interesting discussion. You should have a podcast with yourself, right? How you became from a talking personality to a listening personality.
Surely.
Right.
I think
Maybe we
lot
should
of
take
them.
both the chairs this way. Right?
Surely. Lot of them have put in the suggestion. In my Kannada podcast, they wanted me to be on the hot seat,
Uh-huh.
for which I've promised probably the 1,000th episode would be me. Just 1/4 the way, like a quarter of it has been completed. So the days to come, we will.
My
ensure that.
prayers to Ishvara for all your team success, your success, and maybe the 1,000th episode, we will all watch it with pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Today, by the end of the show, leaving you with this particular practice, I did come across an article which did speak about how to be mentally strong. So here's a list, okay? Rule number 1, embrace alone time. So I think today we are so distracted with social media. We're always trying to doom scroll. We're always trying to distract our mind, to feed it, constantly. So next time when you're caught in a loop, pause, reflect, and ensure you're embracing your alone time. The second point to do is letting go of your past. To be mentally strong, remember, past is a graveyard. Future is always dark. The present is always a gift. Enjoy, live in the moment, and give this reminder to yourself. The next point here is expect nothing from the world. I think this is very easy to say, very tough to do it. I think we all have to reflect upon how we are killing expectation. I think somebody told this to me. When you have zero expectations, like I think even Bhagavad Gita says this, right? Karmanya vadikaraste ma palishu kadachana. So these are few reminders. Initially, I think it will be like a software being installed in a phone. Slowly, I think we will start understanding and operating these values the world has always told us, not just in theory but also into practicality. The next point is very interesting. Focus on what you can control. I think it's very subjective to everybody. Do make a list of things that you can't control so that you can make peace with it and focus on what you can control. Things like you can control what you speak, you can control what you think at times, of course. You can control where you want to be, how you're going to react to a situation. And the last one probably for today is definitely stop pleasing everybody. I think it's a very favorite reflection of mine quote. We live in the society, we don't live for the society. So remind these things to yourself every day, every opportunity that you get. And I guess with these reflections here, I am ending my episode with one and only Mr. Asi, author Asi. This is your Rapid Rashmi signing out of Just Curious India. Until next time, do follow our previous episodes and do let us know in your comment section as to whom would you like to see in this hot chat. Take care, you guys. Thank you. Thank you, sir.